Hello viewers, welcome back to Mikish Town. Now to do a gigantic ranking on all the season 4 episodes of The Lighthouse. You get it, you guys it, all the Casagrandes episodes, the new The Lighthouse episodes, yes, all I'm gonna rank them up. You see, I'm holding this paper, that's my list. If you're hearing a noise, that's actually my fan. I'm turning this fan on because, just in case if I get hot. So, yes, if you're bothered by it, just, you can pretty much say, press that dislike button if you want, or make a comment down below and try to tell me not to, make the fan even louder. And sorry if you hear that phone call in the background, that's actually my mom's phone. Anyways, let's get this ranking started. Coming in last place is, do I really have to say this? Number 50, the top 50 is Kings of the Con. Now, a lot of people absolutely hate this episode. It's one of the worst episodes of the whole show. For me, yes, I agree with this stuff. It's really bad. I just hate the fact that it's a Lincoln torture episode. There's less jokes that I like. Oh man, that cat I just really hate so much. I mean that ending. Yeah, that's the worst ending in the whole show. No, okay, not really the worst ending in the whole show. I bet No Such Luck is even a worse ending, and Brawl in the Family. But yeah, this one has a terrible ending. Want me to tell you the ending is? Okay, I'll tell you what it is. So the episode ends off with the sisters now getting the whole Kings get to have a cameo in the Ace Savvy movie instead of Lincoln and Clyde because they revealed the truth. And next, yeah, the boys kind of feel down. And next, they're told to get out of the stage. And next, yeah, they found out that they're actually part of the movie now, but they turned out to be part of the little kitties, minions or cat cleaners. Yeah, that was a terrible ending. Let me fix that ending for you. Have that ending with the sisters now getting, have a cameo in the movie, but the sisters feel bad for Lincoln and Clyde, so they decide to tell the judge that they want to be in the movie, and the judge is like, okay, fine. So Lincoln and Clyde get to have a cameo in the movie, and we won't have that terrible ending with the cat, yeah. So yeah, that's how I fix the ending, and I mean, that'd be a really great ending. It'll be kind of sweet for everyone to like it. I mean, for the first half, people are probably going to hate on this one, and the second half, people are going to love this one. So it's more on the okay side. But since that ending was there, and yeah, they had to shoehorn a little bad joke at the end, so of course this had to be at the bottom. Obviously, this is the worst episode of the season. Coming for number 49 is Stall Monitor. Now, I actually kind of dug the premise. The premise was actually kind of decent about Lincoln pretty much worrying that he might have a bad grade from his teacher, so he decides to delay his parent-teacher conference at school, so that he won't get some bad things received from Mrs. Johnson. But the execution, unfortunately, was just bad. There's a lot of jokes that I didn't like. Some scenes I didn't like. The part where Rusty impersonates Mrs. Johnson, that part was so dumb. And the truth revealed, yeah, that's so obvious. This has been a running gag throughout the season, and obviously this is going to be a running gag here too. So obviously this has to be at the bottom. Really dumb humor, just a bad executed premise. I just didn't like the ending that much. Overall, not a great episode. Coming from number 48 is Singled Out. I know a lot of people absolutely love this episode, but for me, I kind of found this one boring. No, seriously, this is one of the most boringest episodes of the entire series. Seriously, there's nothing new that's added. Okay, sure, the added addition to a new character, and the fact that Dearland got a bit of focus in this one was kind of cool. But yeah, everything else was just kind of boring and not very interesting. Also, we got another LGBT representation, which I should not be talking about right now. And also, P.S. There's not too much plot. It's kind of like a ripoff of Antiqued Off and Fair to Remember, which those episodes did a better job than this one. So, of course, it has to be in the bottom 3. Coming number 47 is Deep Cuts. Now, I bet a lot of people are gonna expect this one to be at the bottom, and I did expect too, because this episode was kind of dumb. I kind of like the premise, but even though it's kind of similar to Chore and Peace, which I didn't like that episode, this does a better job at it on doing everything else, but But yeah, the entire episode was kind of boring, and there's way too much fighting in this episode, and the principal was kind of dumb in this episode. Overall, the songs were not great, and an entire episode for me just wasn't great. Overall, it's a really underwhelming episode for Luna. Coming from number 46, finishing the bottom 5 is a grave mistake. So this is the last bad episode of the season for me. I kind of think this episode's kind of overhated. A lot of people just bash on this episode as really, really bad. For me, I kind of have a little bit of fun with this one. There's a few parts I kind of like, but yeah, there's some parts where I don't like with some of the jokes, and Clyde crying, which is really annoying. Sure, it's not as annoying as a little bit of SpongeBob crying at the beginning of A Day Without Tears, but yeah, this one was kind of annoying to watch. Also, I don't like. Also, Lucy is kind of a bad character in this episode. You don't particularly root for her, so overall, this is an episode where you just laugh at how bad the humor is, how bad the jokes are, and how annoying some parts are. And yeah, the only good saving for this episode for me is sometimes the song of Luna that sings at the end of the episode is kind of cool, and like say the whole design for Lincoln, so like say goth looks was kind of cool, kind of like reminiscent of the scene from Predictability and Space Invader. Otherwise, I just didn't like this episode. Now for number 6 on the bottom 5, on the bottom 10 is Right and Wrong. For number 45. Now this one, a lot of people don't remember this one as being very memorable because this episode really rips off future tense. Yeah. Though I like the fact that Rita's getting an episode after Rita Who Writes. This episode for me was not very good. It was kind of boring. The whole like say running gag is the children acting kind of naughty. The people see them as like say they're not behaving really well. So Rita decided to say that Emma that she's Flip's sister, and also the children also that they're Flip's siblings. Yeah, this is pretty much the running gag with the whole episode. Children being naughty. People are pretty much acting like what's with those kids? They're acting like animals. Where are their parents? And next week is pretty much gonna tell them off. Yeah, that yada yada yada. Yeah, there's a running gag, kind of like same thing with future tense, which that episode wasn't great to be honest. Coming number 44 is Mutt Above. Now, a lot of people like this one, and a lot of people don't like this one. Yeah, this is a very divisive episode. Now, I kind of had fun with the whole dog show premise, plot line about dog show, and the fact that Charles is getting, getting insulted by Lana's classmate, which is kind of a decent, thing to add for this episode. But for me, the execution was not very good. There's a few parts where I didn't particularly like, and the rest of the episode, yeah, Toads and Tiaras ripoff, not too much great ending. It's kind of forced a little bit, and I wish at least he got more of a punishment, in my opinion. Coming number 43 was On Thin Ice. Now, I know this might be a really unpopular opinion, but yes, this is my bottom 10 of the season. Now, a lot of people absolutely love this episode. There's only a few percent that people hate this one. For me, I was on the middle. This is the start of the 6 out of 10 episodes for me. Yeah, my bottom 5 is the only bad episodes of the season. For me, 6 to number 30 are okay episodes. I meant 45 to 30 are pretty much okay episodes. And this one, I kind of have fun with the whole premise on Lynn causing chaos at a hockey match. But yeah, everything else where she's pretty much acting annoying. This whole superstitions running gag, not very good. The saving grace for this episode is the callback to Good Sports, but that's it. Otherwise, you get a boring episode. 42, Tough Cookies. Now, This one, a lot of people just thought this one was okay, or a lot of people don't like this one because it's a ripoff of Lincoln Loud Girl Guru. For me, I kind of find this one a little bit better than Girl Guru, and there's a few parts that kind of felt fun. But overall, there's a lot of boring parts to this one. The premise wasn't very interesting. The whole, like, say, scene where Lincoln and his friends are now joining, like, say, the cookie gang should have been, like, say, around the middle, because that'd be interesting if we have all Lincoln's all the gang pretty much, like, say, teaming up to, like, say, serve the cookies to everyone in town. But yeah, overall, you just get another Clank and Makai episode, which you get far too much of the scene. Coming number 41 is House Flip. Now, originally, I actually liked this episode. I like this one because there's a lot of funny parts in this one. Flip was hilarious in this episode. Like the part where they pretty much, like, say, break the fourth wall. But yeah, the whole episode for me wasn't very good. Flip was kind of annoying in this episode. The whole, like, say, part where he pretty much, like, say, farts at Lincoln, gets stuck in the fridge, just didn't work for me, and the whole ending wasn't really good. Just kidding. Sorry guys. Anyways, you guys get an episode that wasn't very good in terms of the results. So yeah, that's my opinion on House Flip for right now. I'm planning to do, like, a review for this episode like, say, sooner, but yeah, that's my thoughts on House Flip just for now. The top 40 is Senior Moment. Now 41 closed off the bottom 10. Now Senior Moment isn't that bad for me. Originally, I considered this one an 8 for me. This was a really good episode before, but now I kind of consider this one a ripoff of Kick the Bucket List, but not in a good way. Kick the Bucket List was a little bit better than this. There's a bit. This one for me was. I kind of felt a bit like, say, the same thing where Lori started to take a picture with the two other friends, and next she's like, seeing yours, but bad things start to happen, and yeah, that's pretty much the running gag of this whole episode. I wasn't really fun with the running gag. There's not too much great things, although I like the design for Liam's pics. I think they're kind of cute, but overall, not one of the stronger season 4 episodes for me. Coming number 39 is probably one of the most disappointing episodes of the season. Real and Deal. Now, a lot of people really like this one. A lot of people don't like this one, and some people consider this one okay. I'm in the okay directions, but for me, this one was very disappointing. Now, I was very hyped in day one where I pretty much saw the premise and saw the title card. I was like, yeah, I'm getting ready for this episode when it airs. But I saw the episode, and basically, it's just a regular episode. Just another, like, kind of boring episode for me. The race parts were kind of cool, but execution wasn't very great. I didn't like the fact that they shoehorned Lincoln's friends to pretty much, like, say, do this whole, like, say, cheating thing for Lana and Lincoln. But yeah, and then they hold the Liars Reveal trope, which has been done to death so many times this season. We don't need another one. I know, yes, it should be done to, like, say, convince the character that you're actually cheating, but come on. I mean, you're trying to have fun with your premise, but yet you have to, like, say, do something to pretty much, like, say, ruin what happened with the characters, like, say, the happy moments with Lana, and next they had to shoehorn, like, say, something so that Lana can be angry at Lincoln. So yeah, that part I didn't like at all. I didn't like the fact that Lincoln's friends were pretty much in this episode. And yeah, I like the fact that Chandler returns. I don't like a lot of other people really hate Chandler, but for me, I hate him. But it's nice the fact that they brought him back as the antagonist, because I kind of like him as the antagonist more than an actual character. Overall, you get an episode that's very disappointing for me, and just. Yeah, and also the humor wasn't very good. Cover number 38 is Friends in Dry Places. Now, I kind of had fun with this premise originally when I saw the premise there in Lada's encyclopedia, and next I saw the title card. I was like, cool. I like the fact it's a little, like, say, field trip episode. It's nice to have another Lincoln episode. But the execution for everything else in this episode wasn't very good. There's some gags that I didn't like. Oh my gosh, that cherry gag with Clyde was just gross. And the whole liars revealed trope has been done a lot of times in the season, and we don't need another one. So yeah, this one's kind of disappointing for me. Just like Real and Deal. Another one of the disappointing ones. Coming for number 37 is Rocketman. Now, this one, it was a little bit interesting in terms of the premise. Sure, it's a Kill Chemical episode, and they're going out camping, just like what they did in Rohanet, which should not be interesting because Rohanet was actually a decent episode. For me, this was decent, but overall it was not very good. There are some parts where I kind of found was interested, like the whole, like the part where Lincoln and Clyde tried to stop. Like the whole flight simulator thing was kind of cool. There's some really like a cool animation in some parts in the camp. I like to say the whole design for the title card, and one of the writers of this episode, I think Sammy Crowler, I don't know, Crowley, I think was the one who said that she really loved this episode. But yeah, who said she really loved this episode? But yeah, this was not very good. Overall, you get an episode that kind of feels like one part that's really great, to, like say for like say the plot, and you get one part that you just don't like, that being the execution. So in terms of the execution, it's harmless. Overall, this is not a very good episode. Reason why it's not in the bottom 5 is because it's kind of harmless, and there's some entertainment in some scenes. Overall, you don't get it. This one is not very great. 36 Can't Hardly Wait. Now a lot of people hate and love this episode. For me, I'm in the middle of reduction. I was okay with the results of this episode. There's some parts that I didn't like, and there's some jokes I kind of like some parts where Lori pretty much being clumsy. But yeah, and the Dead Lisa joke was kind of cool. And let's say that whole part where Lisa had to present the invention to Lori was kind of reminiscent to Dr. Octavius from the Spider-Man franchise. But yeah, the rest of the episode was kind of Lori doing clumsy stuff, even though we see her as a regular great employee there in the waiting game, and a little bit of job insecurity, which was a bit of a plot hole. Not really too much of a plot hole, but yeah, I think this is more of a treat. I think this one is more the alternate dimension. I don't know. More in the alternate dimension. I don't know. But yeah, I think Lori forgot what she learned. And her whole clumsiness can be funny, can be not funny. Yeah, it's on the mixed side. Overall, it's decent, but not very great. Coming number 35 is Power Play with the Casagrandes. Now, in my original review, I said I liked this episode. But after rewatching it and thinking about it in my head, I don't like it as much as I used to think about it, but I still consider this to be the worst out of the Casagrandes miniseries. It's still decent. There's some humor I like. There's some parts where I don't like about it. Oh, and Sergio wasn't really great in this episode. I just didn't like him at all. And yeah, the whole plot line with Bobby and Sergio wasn't really great. And I like the premise, even though it's kind of like a rip-off of Greenhouse. And even though this episode was a little bit better than that, this one for me wasn't the greatest episode of all time. Coming for number 34 is Lucha Fever with the Casagrandes. So, like Power Play, I said that I liked this episode before, but now, not right now. It's not a very great episode. There are some parts I kind of found interesting, like say the whole including the Sid and say the part where Rosa has to present the medicine for Ronnie Ann was decent, but man, this situation could have been solved so much better. I mean, Ronnie Ann, you can just record the whole Lucha thing, the Lucha Libre, but before you can go to Uncle Carlos presentation. I mean, you can do that while watching it. How hard is that, right? Yeah. Overall, that part could have been easily fixed easily. So overall, this episode is kind of pointless, but in sense of execution, it's almost enough. Coming for number 33 is Exchange of Heart. Now, this episode was a decent Clyde episode. Now, I know people don't like this one. I know people like this episode. I'm in the middle. There's some parts where I kind of found it interesting, like the whole exchange student thing with Tiago and let's say the part where Clyde ate the pickle was kind of decent. But yeah, this whole plot. But yeah, the whole plot line with Clyde, being sad about his dad's. I know that's kind of a decent plot line, but yeah, it's kind of done a lot. So the plot line was decent, but yeah, it's kind of done a lot, and there's some parts where I didn't particularly like Lori's cameo, and some parts. Overall, this one was just decent. 32 is a Halloween episode. Sorry, this might break your heart, but Last Loud on Earth. A lot of people absolutely love this episode. Not just because it's a Clink and McCloud episode, because it's related to zombies. And there's some parts where I kind of like with the zombie action. And let's say the whole twist reveal that it's actually Lincoln and Clyde's dad's entire time, who's pretty much searching for them. That was kind of a decent twist, and the whole ending with Flip was a nice twist. And the whole shock on their faces to figure out that there's actually a zombie in Royal Woods was actually kind of funny. But yeah, the rest of this episode was a little bit of a ripoff of One Flew Over the Loud House and The Price of Admission. 2 of season 1's Halloween episodes ripped off by this one. Seriously, this is kind of bad. Overall, you get an episode that's really great. I mean, that's really okay. 31, A Pimple Plan. Now, I absolutely love Stage Flight. It's one of my favorite episodes of the whole show. It's there in my top 3, if you're wondering. If you're wondering where I place it, go watch my ranking on the first 3 seasons episodes right after this video. Don't leave this video right now. Watch that video after I'm done ranking all season 4 episodes. But yeah, it was a kind of a disappointing sequel that it's just a regular pimple tale that they're trying to get rid of the pimples. I like the part where Lenny's like to tell Luann something that in her brain that on how to get rid of the pimple. That was kind of cool. That the fact that Lenny actually did something smart in this one. But yeah, the whole part with the date was kind of boring, because it's just the same thing where someone pretty much goes to Luann, or Luann runs into something, or she worries about her pimple thing. But yeah, it wasn't very great. Overall, you get an episode that was just okay. If you get rid of that plot line, this would have been so high on the list. Bringing us to the top 30 is Present Tense. Now, according to one of my reviews in the channel, I'm planning to review this on my birthday. Yeah. But this episode wasn't really that great. There's a few parts I like the part where they're trying to search for their dad's gifts in the mall. The part where they go to Flips, some gags worked, like the part where Lincoln pretends that Flip is a horse, was actually decent. But yeah, the whole execution kind of felt like picture perfect, so that's why it kind of held back on the list. Number 29 is Recipe for Disaster. Now, it's a decent mystery episode, not too much to say, and the twist was kind of decent with Lenny actually the culprit all along, and Lola searching for her was actually kind of a little bit predictable that Lola searched for Lenny because she is having her diary. But yeah, the whole execution for this thing kind of felt like currency fashion. If you want to know more of my thoughts, go watch my episode review. Then yeah, you'll pretty much know my thoughts. Coming number 28 is No Show with the Casagrandes. Now, like my review, I stated this episode was decent. Like the fact that I like the part where the family hugs Ronnie, and I like the fact that where they decided to watch the Lucha, the whole show 3-part episodes at the end of the episode was kind of like a nice scene. But overall, this episode was an okay ripoff of Just One Bite and Idiot Box. So this one kind of felt lower on the list. That's why it's kind of lower on the list than the rest of the episodes. 27, role model with the Casagrandes. Now, originally this episode was actually rated higher, but I decided to rate it lower because Carl was a bit annoying. I forgot. I accidentally said Clyde. Carl was a bit annoying to Ronnie Ann. There's some parts that kind of felt boring because oh man, I keep mistaking Carl for Clyde. Where Carl pretty much annoys Ronnie Ann. That's why it's kind of boring. And the whole part where the montage with baby Ronnie Ann was cool, and the scene where Ronnie Ann talks to her dad in the bathroom was a really good scene. But yeah, Carl was annoying. That's why it had to be lower on the list. 26, Ruin Horde. This is a really decent episode for let's say everyone who's a fan of the Loud House. I like the message for the episode. But yeah, the reason why it's held back for me because it's not as memorable as the other episodes. The top 25 is Pranks for the Memories of the Casagrandes. Pranks for the Memories of the Casagrandes. This episode was a big improvement over Fool Me Twice and April Fool's Rules. It's worse than Fool's Paradise, okay. But this episode has some really nice, action with the boys, cousins, and Ronnie and Carlo trying to team up to stop the boys. I like the subplot with Ronnie and trying to bond with Carlo. That was a kind of a cool idea. The only plot hole for me, part that I didn't like, is the fact that we see Ronnie and Carlo pretty much bonding before, the latest mission. So it's kind of a big plot hole. Overall, you get an episode that entertains. 24, Feast or Family. This is another episode where a lot of people were annoyed by Lynn Sr.'s by Lynn Sr. and there's some people who actually love this episode. Sorry if I'm touching my nose. Oh my gosh, my nose. But this one, for me, was decent in terms of how it's executed. I like Luann's episode. The part where Lynn Sr. had to go to her room was a nice scene. But yeah, there's parts where Lynn Sr.'s annoying Luann I just didn't like, and Par's cameo was kind of neat. Overall, you get an episode that's decent. Coming for number 23 is Washed Up. Now, I know a lot of people expected this one to be higher on the list, but yeah, Washed Up was a really good episode. I like the bonding with the characters. There's actually a scene with Lo and Lana was actually kind of cool, but was ruined big thanks to Lisa. I like some moments with Linda Jr. There's the subplot with the Lincoln and Lucy trying to search for the Loch Ness Monster. Kind of reminds me of that scene in Sweet and Sour where they're trying to search for the footless bellboy. And Luann making another Mr. Coconuts, and Lola having her own bed, and Lana has to make it for her was a decent part. But the thing that held back for me is because Flip was a very bad character in this episode, and the fact that this episode's kind of similar to Trip, and this episode is really rushed. There should have been a 22-minute special. The first half should have been the part where the Louds are pretty much getting ready for the renting for the boat. And next we have Lincoln talking to the viewers. Next we have that scene with Lisa going to the car. They go on the trip. They meet up with Flip, and next they go on the road, the boat, and next they get up in a whirlpool. They get sent to the island, and next they discover some stuff to what to do, how to survive this whole thing. And in part 2, they're their homes that they built there in the island were destroyed by a storm. They're trying to find another way to survive. They get attacked by other animals. We get to see some development with the other characters. I want to have Lily crying, because if I add the Lily crying, then it might be annoying. And then we have the scene where the Loud family start to build their own boat to go back to Royal Woods, and that be the ending of the episode. And then we can see Lincoln and Lucy accomplish their goal by seeing the Loch Ness Monster. So that's how I fix Washed Up. But yeah, Washed Up was a good episode, but yeah, the specific runtime and Flip kind of knocked back for me. 22, Any Given Sundae. Now, this one, a lot of people really love this one. They put it in the top 5 best of the season. For me, I kind of had fun with this one. Overall, I think it's kind of overrated. There's some parts where I kind of find interesting, like the part where Lily tried to stop Luann, the twins from fighting. Yeah, that part was kind of cool. But yeah, the fact that that there's some few plot holes, the fact that are connected to Homespun and the Crying Dame, and the fact that everyone's kind of like say, kind of dumbed down a bit, and like say the whole part with Clyde talking to Lincoln wasn't really necessary. So yeah, overall this one could have been high on the list if it weren't for the specific plot holes that were like say established from the Crying Dame and Homespun, and the fact that everyone's scrunched them down kind of like knocked it back down for me. 21 Good Sports. Now, this is an episode I just reviewed, like say earlier, and I consider that one to be a really good episode, to be a decent Lynn episode, but not the best Lynn episode. I still stand by that. If you want more, just go watch that video I just made a while ago. The top 20 is Brave the Last Dance. Now, this is a really great Clyde episode. I was really rooting for Clyde in this episode, a lot more than the other episodes, in my opinion. There's some nice, like say, parts of this episode. The whole thing that kind of like knocked back for me is because the plot was kind of like say simple, and the fact that Emma and Chloe don't return back for other episodes kind of like say knocked it back for me. Yeah, they don't even return for Friends in Dry Places, for crying out loud. So yeah, I like the new characters, but I'm really baffled by the fact that they weren't returned again, and the plot was kind of like say simple. 19 Geriantics. Now, I consider this to be the best out of the pop-up episodes. I still stand by that, but after rewatching it again, it's kind of like say not great as I remember, but still I like the dynamic between the characters and a nice character arc and a nice like development for Lisa. For number 18 is Face the Music with the Casagrandes. Now, I consider this to be a lot better than Transfer the Memories because this episode has more on terms. I like the team up with Rania and Sid. The ending where we see like say Ablo's backstory. They sing the song. Rania joins in the song, and yeah, the ending is really awesome. Sergio's funny in this episode. Overall, you get an episode that entertains. If you want to know more, watch my review. 17 Star Wars with the Casagrandes. For me, this title kind of reminds me of Star Wars. Yeah. And this episode was kind of like say epic in terms of the plot, but the reason why it's held back down for me is because the episode wasn't as epic as it was supposed to be, and the whole the whole supermarket scene was only in one scene in the episode. That kind of baffles me. Overall, this is an episode that entertains. 16 Leader of the Rack. Now, this is another Lenny episode that was really the